Hey guys, welcome back to another episode of World End Economica. My name is Fuds, and let's get on with the game. After buying some alcohol from a general store that knew my face, I returned to a church. The silence as I entered felt almost unreal. I pushed the ever-ajar door, bearing a notice that read, "The joy of faith is open to all," a bit more open. The sun had set and it was now difficult to see inside the church. Because they were unable to pay for continual use of electricity after a sudden price spike, only one or two lights were on. But it did seem that Risa was there, as I was unable to hear the sound of tableware being cleaned up. Goodness, your timing is bad. Risa appeared. Her sleeves were rolled up. Quits already? Of course not. I didn't go shopping for a bit like we were making too much of a mess. I arranged for him to pick up the food and drinks too. Here, I bought you a present. Thanks, can you put it over there? Empty bottles and garbage filled the kitchen. After putting up the alcohol on the counter, I rolled up my sleeves and picked up a case of empty bottles. You can just have a seat. Oh, help! Really? We can take it over to a storage room? Anywhere's fine? Yep, please. The storage room was next to a connected room. It was given to a church by a patron when it was being set up. When Risa set off to sell some of the rare books, some rich person was impressed by her activities. A year and a half ago, they closed up her shop on lunar surface and returned to Terra, but I left those two rooms in the complex as a present. Risa called out to me abruptly. I was about to take the case of empty cans off to where she told me to. Oh, what? There's someone praying at the church, so please keep quiet. Praying? That's new. Hey now, people come now and then. Wow, do you think there are actually people like that up here? It bothers you? Not really, it's not like I'm trying to mark off my territory. Oh my god, that grin. That grin. Men always think it's their roost when I stay for a while. I shrugged my shoulders at Risa and went off carrying empty bottles. Since Risa opened a church here, of course Christians would come to pray. It's just that people, even Christians, were amazed to see a church on the moon. The moon was on the other hand of the sky. Because of its immense greed, the Pope referred to it as a den of evil in a Terran encyclical. Meaning there are no official churches on the lunar surface. Ones here were allegedly run by devotees like Risu, who think prayers to God were necessary precisely because it was a den of evil. There were no persecution here, so it didn't really become irritable for people. Moreover, there was actually no time for those busy making money to stop and pray quietly. The people who came to pray were probably the poor who lived around the area. They could have been fired and had time to kill. But it wasn't like praying would get you a job or anything. Long ago, a mean-spirited statistician gauged the average lifespan of the faithful. It turned out to be the same as normal people. I do understand the desire to pray to God in extreme situations though. I understood, but I'd rather never be in a statistical situation where I needed to pray. I was somehow able to make it to the next room by relying on the light flooding on the outside windows, as most of the lights were left off. It seemed that some of the rooms were being used as boarding rooms, and people with nowhere else to go had been sheltered here. Everyone Risa had watched over had found work. Risa laughed as she was happy now, but it was a bit lonely. My shadow stretched down the dark corridor as I carried the empty bottles to a storage room. On the way I passed by the chapel Risa mentioned. The candlelight bled through the cracks and slanted shutters on the walls of the room. Peeping into the cracks unthinkingly, I saw a figure kneeling in front before a crucified Christ. A girl? She kept her long hair and the hem of her skirt spread out as she knelt. She was praying quite earnestly, and she wasn't buzzing an inch. What could be praying for so badly here on the moon? I felt that stealing glances at her praying would be intrusive, so I tried my best to carry the bottles carefully, leaving them next to a storage room and going back. A devout Christian. I felt like I just saw a rare creature. Reese was in the living room table and taking a break when I returned. It's rare to see a real visitor. Risa cringed and known she had no words for what I said, but still filled an empty metal cup with tea and placed it in front of an empty chair. There aren't that many devout churches here on the moon. It's amazing you can wear that without getting anyone angry. Poured up a chair and drank the tea Risa poured for me. It was a Chinese style of fermented tea, and a bitter taste. Goodness, he got quite angry often on Terra. Risa returned to Terra for 2 reasons. To get rid of her rare books, and to raise money to find personnel for a church on the lunar surface. Seems like it was a stormy ride. But because of a papal encyclical, not just that, there is a pretty different sects of Christianity, as well as the people who felt church themselves should be gone. Regardless, there were countless believers on Terra, yet no organisations with religious structures on the moon. Reason it could be summed up in an old Matthew movie catchphrase. It gets in the way of business. It was just that. Even if we were faithful here, we did not foolishly bring unsolved problems from Terra to the lunar surface. There was a rather pragmatic idea that money and resources shouldn't be wasted on a problem like this, which hasn't been resolved in over 2,000 years. She could say that Risa was a nuisance to quite a few people. Risa laughed and said it just felt like it should gone back to the times of our forefathers. I fully understand the meaning behind that after some studying. So is that why you're wearing that get-up? I'd rather say it shows off my determination. Risa being able to say that with such a composure was like gravity, and faltering even on the moon. Powerful and massive. Amazing. Huh? I said amazing. She stared at me, with intention looked around at the place. What, is that weird? Do you think you'd be complimented by Haru? What a surprise. It's amazing being able to say faithful here on the moon. I said that while staring out a window. Did something happen? When I looked back at Risa, she was chuckling like she peered out into a steaming cup. It was very much like Risa to not let her worries show. It's nothing. Nothing? Yeah, nothing. I answered, then continued. Nothing at all. Nothing, you see. I lost my dreams. The girl I went hand in hand with and was trying to at least cling onto a sentimental notion of being a champion of justice. I understood that it was nothing but a cheap facade. I wanted to be a real champion of justice, and I'd go along with Rena, put my seal of approval on the application from those immigrant couples, and hand off to our superiors, yet what came out of my mouth was a pointless rules and regulations. And if you ask me why I said it, it's because I was afraid. I was afraid to make decisions by myself, and afraid I might make a mistake again. Afraid I might hurt someone again. Afraid I might lose something important again. That's why I felt that maybe I could just at least help people who were struggling a little bit. As Rain aptly stated, it wouldn't hurt anyone if you just didn't participate in a race and gave it a little first aid to the injured. There is no monster waiting around the bend to steal away everything you have. All the responsibility for Raina came from my own fears. I looked at my right hand resting on a table. It became stiff like severed piece of meat, but it didn't spasm. My body went from movable to immovable. My heart felt like it was being grasped by necrosis. Completely powerless and supine. Haru. At the least, I'm here. I was assured, but that one phrase held so much meaning. I lowered my head as I felt something like embarrassment. I was probably relieved and a bit happy. When right at the opportune time, there came a knock on the church door. There were very few who would knock on the open door. Hello? As Reese answered, Chris with a dishevelled blonde hair appeared in the dark corridor. I'm back. As he responded to that timid answer, Risa gave a wry smile before she went into the sink to rinse out a cup. She dropped in some cubes from the freezer, filled it with more water. The ice made a pleasant crackling sound. Here's some water. Oh, thanks. She appeared to be missing something most of the time, except now she had bits of food and traces of drink spilled all over her clothes. You got clothes dirty. Go on, drink that and go change. Oh, okay, I'll do that. Isn't that crazy over there? She closed her eyes and made her face. Then, after drinking another mouthful of water, she left out a burp. So much that Savo didn't come out of the bathroom. He didn't? Well, that's intense. I'd rather could not call him back here. She laughed cheerfully. Since she was probably drunk, Risa looked at Chris with a state of laughter and disbelief. Come on, go change. Okay, thanks for water. Put the cup down and shakily made her way towards her room. Chris was leaving Risa here. She stayed with my family and Risa down on Terra. But I had to move into a dorm when I became a scholarship student, so when Risa set up a church here, she moved into it. She said she was going to live in a dorm. When she got into college, it was no longer a bother with Risa. But she hasn't bothered up lately, so Risa probably convinced her not to leave. Risa was Risa. She gets lonely and likes to look after people. If I call back with drunks, everything will be a mess again. Feels like I've been cleaning up since this morning, like trying to make a beautiful picture of the sand. But she sighed and said that she didn't look like she disliked it at all. Risa had a big heart, accepted anything. Because of that, I couldn't bring myself to say anything about it to her. Alright, now let's finish this up. Anything I can help with? When I asked, Risa shrugged a bit as she put the kettle back on the portable burner. There is. What? Beer as much as you can tomorrow. One looked around at Risa at the sink with her half-closed eyes. She stuck out for a bit, tongue a bit, and turned to her side. Well, it was actually a joke. I just hate being the only one up. It's everyone here. I got it. I thought you'd say so. She smiled for a moment. But I'm going to throw out the trash and check out the shop a bit. So pour some tea once it boils. Okay. Also. No, it's nothing. It's fine. She laughed as she put the cups on the table and carried out the garbage bag with both hands. I looked at the kettle as it made a small sputtering sound and noticed something unusual as it looked on top of the table. 2 cups. I had my own here. One of the cups was one of the pretty ceramic ones used for guests. As I stared at that bewildered, the door connecting the next room beyond my line of sight slowly opened. The girl who was praying earnestly in the chapel was with Chris in a change of clothes. Wow. Well, she's stunning. Mysterious blonde-haired beauty with red eyes. Just stare at her. She had a shimmering long platinum blonde hair and bowed her head in a small nod when I poured her tea, unlike Chris. Her elegance was very out of place with this church, no, rather this area. I also didn't think what she was wearing was appropriate here. I'd only seen her figure from behind when she was kneeling in a church, so I knew she was wearing a skirt. The outfit of the girl sitting across from me was almost like that of a princess from an old European fairy tale. Wonderful. The voice which passed through her tender lips was as clear as if it was filtered through crystals. The elegant way she held her cup was completely different from Chris, who sat next to her. However, this blonde princess conversed with smiles as she spoke to Chris, who was hugging her cup with both hands. Risa's tea is fantastic. Risa is tea fanatic. The coffee was wonderful as well, I recall. Can't drink bitter coffee though. The princess smiled elegantly at Chris as she scrunched at her shoulders and cringed, as if she was drinking it right about that moment. This type of informal chatty conduct wasn't something the bashful Chris could handle with a stranger. The girl was staring into my mobile terminal screen. I was in no position to criticise Chris's social conduct. I met the princess's gaze when I looked up. I had a feeling that I'd seen her face somewhere before. Have we met before? The princess tilted her head towards her side slightly and chuckled when I asked. Chris went frantic when trying to speak, but she was gently stopped by the princess's white glove and in an overly formal matter. Chris closed her mouth, appearing a bit troubled at the small palm turned up at her. Would you happen to be Haru Kawaru? She inquired about my name from across the table. I know very well I had an emotionless expression, but this time it wasn't because my expression didn't move. I guess we must have met somewhere before. Not at all. The princess had spoken and drank a drink of tea. Her fine etiquette made it difficult to find a way to question her. I do, however, know about you. Actually, I had Chris here tell me. She shrunk her head into her shoulders and looked at me warily. Where's the reason for this, you see? I forced Chris to tell me. So? Yes. Let's allow me to get straight to the point. The princess then finally looked over at Chris and smiled placidly. It was so obvious that it felt overpowering. The gesture seemed to make Chris consent to something. Yielding to a princess's smile and murmuring under her breath, Chris nodded. I have come to give you an invitation. What, to Wonderland? My legs aren't that good, so if it's a picnic, I'll have to decline. Certainly. However, there are mountains in this world one can climb without having red legs. I looked into her eyes, beautiful eyes like beads of glass. My name is Eleanor Schultz-Schweitzer. It's quite a European-sounding name, and I felt like I'd heard it before. Are you sure we haven't met somewhere before? I do remember hearing that name before. I would have expected no less. Huh? Mayhap it's a company name of which you remember. Company. It has been in business since my great-great-grandfather's time. Until yesterday, a company with the name Schweitzer was part of Lunar Service Stock Exchange. Schweitzer and Zalga. My, how that pleases me. Her face didn't look pleased. During my sense of names, I recalled it. They were a small investment bank. However, it is now no more. Her voice brought me back. Meaning, it was bought out, using dirty, underhanded methods. The way she appeared, smiling with her head tilted, she was like a noble's daughter who wasn't able to obtain a tea set at Sotheby's auction with a bid. However, without realising it, Eleanor had expressed in her words what she was feeling. Saying it was bought out pretty much meant there were corporate bribes. There was a completely legal way to do bribing, but there were many ways to do it inhumanely. One could say it was a vicissitudes of fortunes. However, that was the last company which contained the Schweitzer name. Grandfather said that that's how things go, but I could not accept that. While I am but a novice, I was placed in its administration. I finally realised why I felt Eleanor's smile was unnatural. It was her will, her determination. From her neck to her shoulder, from shoulder to hand, everything moved smoothly and elegantly. Even her dainty soft cheeks, but her fixated eyes were like rubies and laid on a pedestal. With one fluid movement, she took out what appeared to be a small bundle of papers in the bag beside her. Laid next to it was a gold-laced fountain pen, the sort of thing you'd rarely see on the moon. To reclaim the honour of the Schweitzer family, I must fight. For that reason I require that of which is considered power in this world. And thus I've come to you with an invitation. You say invitation, but when I was about to say I was nothing but a simple work scholarship student, Eleanor smoothly extended her hand out towards me over the table. My gaze was pulled to it as if I was a cat. With her slender fingers and those beautifully polished nails of hers, there was a cheque inscribed with the logo of the E.J. Rockberg, the most prestigious of banks. I've seen the data from the World End Economics Research Centre. It was magnificent. Oh? Mr. Yoshiharu Kawara. I never heard of a gun pointed at me, but people held at gunpoint probably froze up just like this. I am in need of your strength. Thus, I wish to employ your services with this 100,000 moles. There were 6 figures written on a cheque placed in front of me. And that's not how you spell cheque. It's C-H-E-Q-U-E. 70,000 moles was the amount I scraped together like I was shaving off my life for 4 years. Faced with a sum which easily surpassed that amount, I was at a loss for words. I looked at Eleanor, went over to Chris next to her. Chris looked at me with a very worried expression on her face. How about it? My gaze went back to Eleanor. Except my mind was completely blank and I couldn't speak. How suddenly this happened was part of the reason why. Though it wasn't really because I was surprised at the amount of money. It was that I couldn't understand why someone like me was held in such high esteem. After all, I had lost my industry when fled from it. Now what I deal with is trivial data in government branch office, weeding out fraudulent welfare organisation funding applications. More than anything, I thought I didn't have a capacity to return to that world. That was a place I was not fit to return to after that failure. Eleanor waited very patiently for me to respond, but her gaze suddenly moved to the door. A murmuring of voices could be heard in the distance. It was probably the drunks on the way back. I realise this is quite a personal request. Cutting to a chase, this will be repechage. Very fortunately, I have a fair amount of capital and the support of a few individuals. She looked over at Chris. Chris is one of those individuals, and according to Chris, you are quite amazing. Was that why she asked me to come back? But that was for me from 4 years ago. Me before I failed. It would be quite a boost to my forces if you were to come to our side. What say you? Ellen asked again, but I couldn't make out who she was talking about now. I couldn't speak. The only thing I could do was look away. What I was doing was the voice of the drunks could be heard clearly from the door, so Eleanor stood from a seat. We have a private placement fund. I believe it's quite a flexible system in this world. We can use various methods of allowing us to give lucrative incentive to those who assist. So I was sparing no expense. But I still couldn't respond. I would prefer to have spoken in a more formal setting, however. There were thumps and bangs along with laughing voices. If we entered the room, this would be no place to speak. Let's consider today a greeting. I will take my leave. Eleanor gave a small bow as she got up, with a slender, well-proportioned back stretched against face up, left out the front door. Chris hastily followed right after the drunks made their way to a church. There seemed to be a brief exchange of words asking what was the meaning of this, as the two parties ran into each other. But not all of that made it to my ears. My eyes were on a check for 100,000 moles. This wasn't a world where you could cling on by saving your pennies. You worked up at something that could never be covered in the news, while you gnaw your cheap chicken sandwich in the afternoon. The check for 100,000 was both a symbol of that investment world and a ticket into it. It was a world I admired and a world I was kicked out of. The world where genuine egotists run rampant. It's incomparable to those vulgar, arrogant fools at a government branch office flaunting themselves around. A wonderful world where reckless dreams such as standing where no man has ever gone was acceptable. It was the exact opposite of the meaning of the word tranquil. My mind swirled with that sensation following their tastes after those hastily rushing numbers. The sense of thrill my assumptions were correct, and remember my despair when I was wrong. My pulse quickened and breathing became shallow. My pores expanded as I remembered those things. I was so caught up in it at that time. It was really a lot of fun. But I committed to a irrevocable, enormous mistake. I can't even say that word. I couldn't go back there again. There was no way I could go back. My mouth suddenly felt itchy. When I touched it with my hand, I noticed it was blood from my nose. Investing. I squeezed my eyes shut, focusing on that word. I was taken in and massacred by Barton. In a panic, I escaped and frightened to hold myself up in that government branch office. There's no way someone like me could return to a world of investments. Yet what was this excitement? What was this hunger I felt? Had I forgotten what I did 4 years ago? I grabbed onto my chest and my heart thumping rapidly. Hunched over a chair, I realised there was someone there. When I lifted my head up, there was Risa. Except instead of a usual big sister like Risa who worries about my well-being, she was looking down at me emotionlessly. I guess you never were able to come to terms with what happened 4 years ago. Looking over the entrance with narrow eyes, she said that with an awful dry voice. I'm not saying we should take up her proposal. She looked up at me. You need to take a good long look in the mirror. Saying that, she sighed. Let's go somewhere quiet for now. She hoisted me up and lent me a shoulder, carrying me into a church before drunks came in. Sitting on a pew, unable to speak even a word of gratitude, from confusion and excitement, I took the wet towel and water Risa brought. Risa finally spoke after watching me wipe my nose and mouth and go down with water. I was worried about you when I was thinking about the past. When I think you need to come to terms with it, I thought this would be necessary for that purpose. Am I being nosy? She said that as she took my half-emptied glass of water. I couldn't tell if she was being serious when she said that. Well, it is being nosy, but it wasn't me that tried to get Eleanor to meet with you. Unable to open my mouth, I stared into her eyes, asking who had done such a thing. It was Chris. Seeing my sudden loss of breath, I expressed my surprise to Risa as well. She took my hand, caressing it gently, as if she were encouraging one of her flock. She thought, we aren't enough to bring you back to her senses. I think so, but you see. She then turned her gaze to a crucifix on a church wall. Having been by your side on most, Chris knows how much you've been blaming yourself all this time. That's why it's her genuine desire, but you've come to terms with what happened 4 years ago. She acted on that, Chris of all people. Do you understand what that means? She was shy and timid. She would stop and think forever if she had to leave in a little bit of anxiety. Everyone is properly moving forward. You're the only one not moving. No. She turned her gaze back towards me and gave a dejected smile. You're the only one who's lost on her way. For a while I've thought about being able to get back to yourself. But I'm certain after seeing you, you're doing nothing but fooling yourself. Am I wrong? I was learning law to help those in need. If that was truly the same goal of a dream I was going nowhere a man has gone before, I probably would have helped those immigrants, even if it meant saving Rena. But this was far from reality. I hid behind the rules and regulations and pushed all the responsibilities onto Rena. Risa was a devoted servant, wearing the habit of a sister, opening a church and taking those who had lost their way. She definitely knew my deception. Of course, Risa's eyes wasn't angry. It was I couldn't look in those eyes which turned away from me. It felt like I was 5 years old again and had to fear my mum. In those 4 years I hadn't heard anyone. I hadn't caused problems for anyone. Even the reason for studying law was just a cover, when Risa probably wouldn't have not said anything and instead ended up helping those in need. I just lied to myself more than anyone else, trying to tighten the noose around my own neck. I am a failure of a human. I'm a failure of a human, over and over again. And Risa was the type of person who would not allow people to hurt others, even by way of hurting themselves. That was why Risa's eyes scared me. Risa was very kind and meddling, reaching out to anyone, even those on the lunar surface, abandoned by everyone else. No matter how embarrassing something was, she would chuckle and accept everything. That's why I couldn't help but look away. That's why she accepted my life for these 4 years. I had said something more shameful when I asked to lay my head in Risa's lap 4 years ago. It had wanted more than anyone to tell someone. You're not. Good. With that, Risa patted me on my head like I was a child. And, you see, I'm also meddling type wants of us to succeed, even if that's by force. Oh, Eleanor isn't a bad girl either. She's telling the truth. She's the daughter of a prestigious family on Terra, and her company on the lunar surface is taken away. Chris herself must have been up to something, getting Eleanor to entrust her with such a big role. That's probably true, trying to wake you up and get to help at the same time. When Eleanor and Chris came to me about this thing today, that was one reason why I agreed with them. That's also one more realistic, important reason behind it. What more could there be? I looked at Risa with half-terrified eyes, but she paid no heed to me and continued speaking in a relaxed tone. By the way, Haru, you know how his church is run? I was completely dumbfounded by what Risa asked me as she smiled with a slightly menacing jeer. When she asked, the gears in my head began turning her own, and her inquiry put a few questions in my mind. So he's getting quite a large salary, so he's contributing quite a bit, but there's been quite a few people coming in compared to back then. The pension is also a lot higher. The contribution itself isn't enough. Then how? When I recalled what Eleanor has said, Chris is also one of those assisting. It can't be. Chris is. That's right. She's been contributing using the program Hagana left. She's been making money. 4 years ago, me and Hagana worked together and invested. Hagana made an investment program. It contained all my skills investing and deployed them automatically. Its level of performance was so incredible it made me feel like I was having a very long nightmare. If it didn't have everything stolen away by Barton, then I would have probably been able to save everyone in the 6th outer district. Everyone was separated, Hagana was gone, and I moved far away from the world of investing, but like a dog burned by a stove. That's why I completely forgot. More precisely, I'd forced it out of my head. But when Hagana really got into it, she had consulted Chris on mathematical problems. Also, Chris's skills rivaled Hagana's, so there was more than enough of a possibility. Meaning she used the program to its fullest, or even improved on it. I told her to quit several times, though. She was so captivated like you were back then. She didn't listen, when disturbing well it seems. It's more a matter of wanting to test her own abilities than being drowned in desires, so I wasn't really strict about it, and it's helping me out. So then what was the reason for her to meet with Eleanor? I thought about that, but then I realised. Preparing Regina's girl with equipment to make money, and a noble daughter who swore to get back the company stolen for her. Chris is assisting Eleanor. She's increasing Eleanor's investments and getting compensated for it. Then donating it here. It's a lot. It's just that I'm not sure if I should be stopping Chris. I do believe that Chris is not motivated by greed, and it's not a bad thing she's helping out Eleanor. But if there's a problem, then it's just that Chris is still a teenager. It seemed very difficult to say. Of course she'll be an adult once she hits her 20s, I know that very well. I also know that she's more mature than a lot of other adults. But I'm worried. Eleanor lives in a different world from the rest of us, an actual lady of a wealthy family. You saw her praying, didn't you? She does everything seriously. Do you understand what that means? It was quite convincing when someone like Risa said that, her sharp gaze unbefitting her elegant figure. Just recalling it sent chills down my spine. If Eleanor takes Chris somewhere else... I don't know how bright she is, but I'm still worried about Chris. No, I lied when I told her you shouldn't lie to yourself. I'll say it honestly. I have no reason to pull Chris away from Eleanor. I can't take the thought of someone else going so far ahead like you and Hagana did. End up like that. It was unreasonable fear. If that was why, then it automatically guided me to a reason for sticking with Eleanor. Basically, watch over Chris? I'm ashamed to say it, but basically, yes. But I failed. Why would someone like me? That's why. That's exactly why. Chris is an amazing child. Looking at a broader perspective, I think she's more amazing than her Nagana. I think that's only because she's never experienced failure in her efforts in her entire life, unlike you and Hagana. If my face could move, I'd be smiling. I'm not saying that cynically, but it's just exactly why I'm afraid. I had lots of failures myself, but it's true there's a kind of prudence you can only gain, applying with experience gained through failure. I do want Chris to learn by making her own failures. By being involved in a place where you're dealing with huge sums of money, it's easy to make irreparable mistakes. I don't think it's a place where a teenage girl to be. You're familiar with that, aren't you? Human lives are cheap without money. In a short time I spent with Hagana, I learned that as well. Also, Chris is still hesitant about some things, but lately she gets surprisingly sharp eyes sometimes. I know it may just be me being selfish, but being afraid of her and just wanting an adorable kid to stay adorable. That's true. Yeah, I thought you'd agree with me. That's why I feel this is God's will. God's. Yeah, I don't want to continue living a life of lies. I want someone to watch over Chris from behind, since she doesn't throw caution to the wind. Would you not believe this is fate? But not suitable. That word was sealed by Risa's next words. And I as well, Haru. I've been expecting Hagana to come back, but how about you? Aren't you thinking that? I gulped. If Hagana returned, then what would you think of me, seeing me holed up in that government branch office, studying the intricacies of law? Haru, it's possible to just keep lying to yourself, covering up your wounds for the rest of your life. But you know, you only get one life. There are a lot more people you don't know who don't want you to leave that type of life. I had nothing to say back to her. Risa rubbed my cheek with the back of her fingers and smiled at me placidly. Of course, I'm not going to tell you to make up your mind right here and now. But think hard. Also, don't turn away. Chris is ever following what she thinks, and decided to have you meet with Eleanor. She probably knows what memories of the past you're holding on to, much better than I do. Sorry, the headset started beeping at me. 1 second here. One moment. She probably knows what memories from the past you're holding on to much better than I do. You know yourself, don't you, Haru? She knew that you might have gotten angry, or you might have had a terrible spasm. She was sure that one of those may have made it so she'd never see you again. That was not a spur of a moment type of thing. I recalled that worried expression on Chris's face, so I thought she was just a simple girl who couldn't already make a daring step. But she'd already progressed this far already. That's true. That's right, people can't stand still, but they can go forwards. It's even if it's only a step at a time. That's the same with me as well. Looked at Rose, say it's ridiculous, but Risa gave me a small wry smile and shrugged. So what will you do? Huh? Risa's probably still worrying about it, so she has an extraordinary resolve. I'm going to call her, but how about you? Are you alright? Honestly, I was still mixed up. For these 4 years, I've been tossed around by the waves as I covered up my own head. There's no way I could suddenly stand up and start walking. Yet I scratched my nose and took a deep breath. A sense of giddiness, like that refreshing feeling you get right after you wake up. It would seem that my nosebleed has stopped. Trying to get a nosebleed from excitement. That must mean a lot. Even I think it's strange. Goodness, really? Huh? Because you could say that's your real passion, don't you think so? Risa rested her hand on her hip and said that with a smile. So we've got a possibility of we've got an inn. That's an interesting development. Oh well. A bit like the investment contest in the first episode. We've now got a rich girl wanting help. And Haru needs to take the offer. Join me next time we find out whether or not he will. Bye bye.